What is going on, everyone? My name is Northy, and today we are back, of course, for the round 18 review. Yes, again, another Thursday night game. Almost messes me up. I say almost because I was on it for some parts of it, such as the fact that the first game I was able to do and finish up my star powers and top team for it. However, I didn't do my tips because I wanted to record this last night. I just never got around to doing it, whether I was lazy or whether I forgot. You guys can decide, honestly. I don't want to call myself lazy, but I will because I have been lazy with it as of late. But at the same time, I've been trying to rest up as I've been a little bit ill ever since, I think, about the start of the week. I recorded Tuesday's video, which was the round review for round 17. I recorded that one feeling a little but was able to have a bit of energy within myself. The Wednesday one was pre-recorded, so I didn't feel ill at all at the time. I've just been feeling ill pretty much over the week, and so this is on a Friday. Feeling a little bit better now, so hopefully, if you can't tell already, I'm a little bit nasally, but anyways, I'll try and ignore that for the most part. I was able to get my star powers and top team done. I just wasn't able to get my tips done, so we will be going over to the AFL site to get a proper understanding of what I would have tipped for the week. Freo versus Geelong was last night. I would have tipped Geelong anyways, and they went ahead and won it. Very convincingly by 69 points, which is pretty crazy. I did not expect it to be that much of a margin, but Geelong at their best are one of the best in the competition. You cannot deny it. They always stay up there at the top, even with their old age. I think they're one of the oldest clubs in the league. They still destroy it. They still kill it, having all those weapons ready to come at you at any point. It's interesting to see how they transition from their teams of old, like Joel Selwood and Tom Hawkins, into this new era. That's going to be very, very interesting. But Geelong took that one very convincingly. It's why I've kept my select premiership predictor for Geelong that I packed early in the year. So I've kept that one just because they may do it. There's a chance. Tom Hawkins had a pretty decent game as well, so that he may end up getting the Coleman predictor. But I traded that one away, so I won't be getting anything for that if that happens. But let's check out our star powers first. As you can tell right here, I ended up taking out Joel Selwood. Now, I can't remember whether that was a good idea or a bad idea. I knew Joel Selwood was coming back. However, David Mundy's been playing pretty decent so far. I do not remember seeing Mundy, though, anywhere near Selwood, so that's a little bit frustrating. Yeah, 13 disposals. Yeah, it's very disappointing when stuff like that happens. You expect players to play well after a really good week, and then the minute you chuck them in your team, they drop off. It's very disappointing. I say it all the time now with this stuff. You gotta stick with your guns. Joel Selwood came back. I should have stuck with him, but I was just worried that because last time Joel Selwood was in my squad, obviously last time he wasn't even playing, so that was my own fault for not recognizing that earlier. However, I think he didn't play the greatest of games. He doesn't have consistently great games all the time, and David Mundy's had a really revived career so far this season, and I thought maybe he'd do it, but no, a really quiet one from him, which was really disappointing. Star Powers just hasn't been my thing, but at the end of the day, at least Legend this week was better than last week. We got no points last week, so getting however many points we got from him this week is better than whatever we got last week. So I'm happy with that. But the big change for this one is Super. I've gone from Ben Cunnington to Clayton Oliver. I'm glad I picked up on it. I saw a headline saying Ben Cunnington was not going to travel up to Queensland to play against Essendon. Really upsetting how it's all kind of worked out down here in Victoria over a short period of time. Sorry, it's been like 2 weeks since I think the initial outbreak in New South Wales. It came over to Victoria, and it's very disappointing how it's all kind of turned out. But that's unimportant. The game's still going through, but Ben Cunnington is not playing, so I've switched him up for Clayton Oliver. The other choice was Josh Kelly. Honestly, it was a toss-up between the two. Josh Kelly's been on has had some pretty good form as of late. He's been pretty good, but Clayton Oliver's been kind of old reliable at the moment, so you know what? We'll test him out, see how he goes. Hopefully has a good game. But Brodie Grundy I've kept in there for obvious reasons. 120 points last week. Ridiculous stuff. Definitely keeping him in. And then Jacob Hopper. He had a really big week last week with 106 points. I'm going to test him out, see whether we can do the same. And then I've chucked in Jordan Ridley in there as well. Again, just a high scorer for for the entire thing. So I'll just keep him in there, see how that one goes. Star powers, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. We were in top 100 last week, even with the one player not even getting any points. So let's see whether we can get something similar. I need Clayton and Brody to both have really, really big games. If these two can produce some big ones as well, that just means it's an extra plus. So yeah, 100 points, 100 points. If we got that lucky, that'd give us 400 right there. And if Jacob Hopper and Jordan Ridley can both have some decent games, like 60 or 70 from Ridley and 80 to 100 from Hopper, there's a chance we can get over that 600 mark. I think 600 is kind of the goal, but it's not a guaranteed top 20 spot, and so it's a little bit frustrating at the moment. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Hopefully some big things, though, coming up. But that's star powers sorted. We're going over to top team, top 4. I have not made a single change. This was my big thing. This is my big one from last week, is do not change. Stick with your guns. I have to do it all the time now because it just sticks in my head. I try and make too many changes and I end up messing myself up. Because every time I do change them out, they end up playing out of their mind. But Jack Steele has been consistently awesome so far, so I've kept him in there. He wasn't the best one, but I've kept him in there because I'm hoping that maybe he'll be able to produce some Tuke Miller numbers from last week. But we've also got Rory Laird back in, staying in there. He played awesome last week, and I'm pretty confident it'll play pretty good this week as well. Grundy, he is just the best ruckman right now in terms of team coach points. But Sean Darcy had a big game last night. He started off on fire, possessions, hit-outs, everything. Sean Darcy was doing really, really well. But then kind of slowed down towards the end. And Bontempelli had a really quiet week compared to what he's usually doing. So I'm going to stick with him, see what happens. Hopefully Bontempelli can put up some big numbers though. Like I said last week, I was expecting a top 10, but we got 42nd with 412 points. That was so heart-wrenching, it hurt. It hurt, that one. But we go over to top 18. I've made, I think, the most changes in a long, long time. Whitfield is out for Tom Stewart. Tom Stewart, as everyone knows, played last night. He had a fair few marks, but not as dominant as he's been in recent games. Last week he had 86 points, above average, loads of marks, and that's the reason I put him in. He is just an intercept player, much like players like Stephen May. He just puts in more disposals and gets more points in general, though. As you can see, Stephen May, 9 marks there. He is very much similar to Tom Stewart, so we're going to chuck him in there. But as I look through the stats for last night, Tom Stewart had 9 marks, so pretty similar to Stephen May, 20 disposals, and pretty much nothing else from there. Yeah, no tackles or anything like that, but that's kind of what you expect from a defensive player. Usually most of the stuff is either coming through low, because this team is very good at picking things off, but players like Sam Menengola, as I mentioned before, leading the way for them, was really, really good last night. Just not too many standouts other than Sean Darcy, I think, for Fremantle, however, because Sam Menengola, Cam Guthrie, Zach Tui, Patrick Dangerfield, all Brandon Parfitt even, all over 100 points. Brandon Parfitt's going to be a really good pickup for whoever picked him. 10 tackles and 2 marks. That's pretty decent for his standard. So whoever's got Parfitt in there is going to be pretty happy this week. But yeah, almost no changes. Salem played awesome last week, so I've kept him in there. Jake Lloyd and Callum Mills, both always awesome. Rory Laird obviously as my top 4 backmen. I'm going to keep him in the top 18. And Jack Crisp as well. All of them had some pretty decent games. If we go to last week, almost every single person that we've got in right now was in that top 7 right there. Obviously, Tui was a different story. Probably should have had Tui in instead of Stewart. Got kind of caught up with it. But you know what? Good stuff to Tui. I wouldn't expect to be using him that much, at least in my personal opinion. But he's proven me wrong. He's doing really well as of recently. Getting involved with it all. Midfield is very interesting this week. I'm going for those players who, when they are on, they are on. And at the moment, I think I've got the best mix of players who are able to do that. Tuke Miller, when he's doing his best, is doing awesome. He was the best midfielder last week, I think. Tuke Miller, I think, was. And then we think of players like Jaden Stevenson was forward line. I did not chuck Jaden Stevenson in this week, and that may be a mistake, who knows, but Jaden Stevenson, I just didn't I felt like that was a one-off thing, because he's had a really, other than that game against West Coast, he's had a pretty disappointing season, so I'm just hoping that I am right in that sense, but North can still pull it over. Essendon, however, Essendon have been much better than us this season, much like many teams except maybe Hawthorn. Hawthorn's probably the only one I can comfortably say haven't been better than us. But I've chucked Sam Walsh in this week because he has been on fire as of late. Sam Walsh has been awesome for Carlton, probably their biggest standout this season. Paddy Cripps has kind of slowed down, but Sam Walsh has been something else, man. He's been really, really good. So I've chucked him in there. We've got Christian Petrarca in there as well. He's having a Brownlow medal contender season. Same goes with Jack Steele and Darcy Parish. Hence why I've got these guys all in there. So when they are on, they are on. They're not in the same team at all. Brodie Grundy is sticking as my ruckman, obviously a top 4 ruckman, top 3 ruckman in the league at the moment, but my top 4 ruckman as well. I really can't choose between Sean Darcy, Max Gawn and Brodie Grundy. Some may want to chuck Goldstein in there every now and then as well. So those that I think could be the top 4 ruckman. I'm probably missing some others, but yeah, I'd say those are top 4 right now. Maybe a little bit biased with the Goldstein one, but I think the other 3 are pretty fair. But that's a pretty solid midfield, I think. I think if they all are on, they're going to have big ones. It's all down to this forward line. It's always down to the forward line sometimes, man. And it's really frustrating. But Paddy Dangerfield, good start to the week. That's what we want from our forward players. That's what we want. He had an absolutely incredible game, I think, last week. I can't remember. No, it wasn't last week. It was the week before. I think it was against Port Adelaide, if I am correct. I think so. But, yeah, Paddy Dangerfield, another decent game last night. Again, I'll quickly check his stats because he was doing well with the rest of them. He had 3 goals, 22 disposals, 7 marks, and 4 tackles, which is a really, really good team coach game. There's a big difference between AFL Fantasy and Team Coach, and certain stats in AFL Fantasy are different to Team Coach, and so I think Team Coach is a bit more of a watered down kind of thing, while AFL Fantasy likes to go further in depth with how their points are awarded through different, whether you do a kick, a hand pass, a mark, clearances maybe even, I'm not too sure, but they're a lot more in-depth than Team Coaches. And Paddy Dangerfield has done his best, I think, with how the stats are going. 3 goals gives him 18. Then you've got the 22 disposals, which gives him 44. Then the 7 marks and 4 tackles. 11 in total, times 3, which is 33 in there. So we've got the 18 and the 44. I'm trying to do math right in my head right now. 18 and then 44 gives us 62. Then the 33 points there gives us 95. That's a really solid game from Dangerfield, especially because last week they had a 69-point game. So that is good. That's a very good start for our forward line. Langford and Shea Bolton, I think, are our biggest question marks. Zeebel's always consistent. He's alright because he's actually playing back for them at the moment, and that's kind of where North need their good players right now. So you can see his season average is 81, and he always averages a consistent amount of points. But yeah, I'm hoping that he can do some big things. He's always grabbing marks. He's always taking kickouts, so he's always a good, consistent scorer for my team. Because North, as everyone knows, has to play pretty defensive all the time. But yeah, playing like Jordan De Goey, this is a really, really interesting one for me. I'm hoping this one goes well for me because as of lately, Jordan De Goey's really started to pick up his style, his swag. He's getting it all back again. I've heard certain people talk about how he's got his confidence back, and he's starting to get he's starting to remind people of why he was compared to the best in the game for a while, and starting to get back on the track. And Shea Bolton has started to get more involved on the ball. As you can see, 26 disposals last week. That's very good. He kicked a goal, couple of marks. Yeah, overall, a really solid Team Coach game. It's what you need. You just need solid performers because you're aiming for that 14,000 rank. But as you can see here, 1,500 and 1,400. You're aiming for around that 1,500 in hopes that, you know, maybe you'll get over the top. But this is where I got my Shea Bolton prize card. So I'm hoping that that'll continue this coming week. Basically, you just need to make sure that everyone's averaging consistent games, and in order to get to the 1,600 mark, you'd have to have like 8 players not play 100-point games, or not play less than 75-point games. And so Paddy Dangerfield having a 95-point game last night is really, really helpful. Tom Stewart was a little bit scary, but yeah, again, you can't have anyone going too low under 75 points. Otherwise, others have to pick up the slack or others have to perform over 100 points, and it gets very scary from there. But I'm hoping that this is the team that gets me into another top 10 spot. I'm not as confident this week as I was last week, especially because last week started off awesome. We got over 400. I thought it was going to happen, and then a 42nd shocked me. But we're going to go over to the AFL website now and see what the games are like and see who we're tipping. So as you can see right here, Geelong beating Fremantle by 69 points. A very, very weird one. 3 for 13 scoring is not good either. But we're looking at this one as well. Richmond versus Brisbane. Brisbane have been lacking as of late, but Richmond have been on some kind of slump, man. They've been really struggling. But hopefully... if I was to guess, if I was to actually be tipping this, I'd say Brisbane. It's at Queensland. I said Brisbane over the Saints, but the Saints ended up taking it over them. That's how much of a slump Brisbane's kind of on at the moment, but I'm confident in saying Brisbane still. I still am. I think they're a top 4 side. I think they should be able to take this one over Richmond if we're being completely honest. However, Richmond could blow them out. Richmond could completely take the wind out of them, and I think there's a chance. Obviously, I'm probably putting a bit too much confidence into them, but it's Richmond, man. They got Dusty. They got players who should be playing much better than they currently are. Who knows? But I'm going to say Brisbane are taking this one. Then we go to the Suns and Gold Coast. The Suns and Gold Coast. The Suns and the Dogs. It's in Queensland. It's in Gold Coast home ground, but the Dogs should be taking that one realistically. If anything, they should be taking that one. If the Suns were to win, players like Lukosius, like Rao, like Anderson, like Tuke Miller, they're all going to have to step up. Ben King's going to need to kick some goals and really get himself on the board if they want to beat the Dogs. So this is going to be a very interesting game itself. We go over to this Victorian game. I was really upset that North isn't playing in Victoria, but unfortunately that's just the way it's going at the moment. Melbourne versus Hawks. I don't think anyone's really questioning it. Melbourne should be taking this one pretty easily. If Hawks win, I do not know what to say. North are just cursed to be bottom of the ladder this season. I won't know what to say. But then we go to the next one. This is a very, very interesting one. The Saints versus Port Adelaide. This one's going to be interesting because Saints are starting to get back into form. Port Adelaide, they're having a lot of questions asked. A lot of questions. And so it's going to be interesting to see who makes the big response. I'm going to back St Kilda. I'm going to back them. I really think they have a chance. They've been playing pretty decent as of late. I was very critical of them, quietly to myself, a couple of weeks ago, I think. The game against Sydney definitely was when I was like, yeah, there needs to be change here. Something needs to switch up because this is unreal. They should not be playing like this, but players like Max King and all around Jack Steele has been incredible. Their veterans are starting to step up. Their young players, Jack Billings, is starting to actually have some effect on the game, like he's been missing for a while, but now starting to get back into form. I think the Saints can take this over Port Adelaide. But then we go over to this first Sunday game. I was planning to go to this one with my dad, but obviously as things change up, that became not possible. But Metricon Stadium, North versus Essendon. I'm going to say Essendon take it, unfortunately. I think Essendon are not a team that let teams like us slip through them, like West Coast last week and Gold Coast a few weeks ago even. But there's been a lot of teams that have really been surprised by North Melbourne. I do not think Essendon will be that kind of team. Essendon always bring it to North as of late. It's ever since that elimination final. North have always been punished by Essendon, and it's very, very sad to see. But I am going to say Essendon take that one. Collingwood versus Carlton. This one's going to be interesting, for sure. I am going to say Collingwood. I think Collingwood are a much more inspired club right now. Carlton are just kind of walking on eggshells. They're kind of just floating on air. I feel like they already know their season's over. While a lot of people at Collingwood have a lot to prove, and Sam Walsh will do his thing. I think Paddy Cripps needs to step up tremendously. He's been really, really quiet, I think. And even then, if he does step up, he needs to be a leader in general. He's leading a very uninspired squad. I think this is a game kind of based on inspiration. Who wants it more? I may be completely wrong, and certain players will do a lot more than I think. But it'll be interesting to see who responds. Then we go over to Adelaide versus West Coast. I am telling West Coast fans right now, if you lose this game, call the season off. Call it off. I am going to back you. For your sake, I'm going to back you. But there are some dangerous players on Adelaide. Ben Keys is having an awesome season. There's a lot of players. Phil Thorpe, I think is his name. His last name's difficult, man. He's been really, really good this season. West Coast, if there is a chance, to get yourself into the 8 and keep yourself there this season, you have to beat Adelaide. You have to do it. There's no other questions. I'm going to leave it at that. But GWS versus Sydney, this is going to... I always say it with GWS, but it's up to them. It's up to them who wins. Sydney have been awesome this second half of the season, and so I expect Sydney to win it 100%. But man, I always feel either GWS are going to come out of nowhere and beat Sydney, or they're going to absolutely flop and lose by 50 plus. There is no in between. If there is, I'll be surprised. But Sydney should take this. Sydney should be taking this, but there is no in between. Either GWS upset or they lose by 50. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting week for sure. Some really exciting matchups, some tests here and there. This is going to be a very, very fun weekend of games. Already off to a very interesting start. So let's see how this weekend of games goes. I hope you all have as much success as possible. I remember last week I got some messages from subscribers talking about how they had similar teams to me or the same teams as me, and they were trying to win. And they were also confident in their teams. I'm hoping that you'll have that same confidence and have that same excitement going into this this round 18. I don't know why I said last. This round 18 week. Man, I'm hoping we get a North Melbourne win. I'm hoping if we beat Essendon, I am stoked. The future of this club is so bright, and if we can start it now, I won't know what to say. But that win against West Coast was huge. And I'm hoping we get some big results this weekend. So, thank you all so much for tuning into this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.